stinking rad, bro. Stinking rad.
No, it's totally stinking rad, guys.
Totally stinking rad, guys. Yeah, well, not... Yeah. Tot, 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 tot.
That guy is so quick.
He's quick.
Clint?
Quick and fast.
We were hanging out with... with Dave, obviously, at the end of the Crocodile thing.
You know what I found is awesome? I don't know, you can try this if you want. I put it at full height and just stuck it between my freaking crotch, and I can freaking chill here. And it's super like...
It's like talking to your wiener all night.
If it was as long as this is, then yeah. If it was like that, my life would be a lot easier.
My wiener is not adjusting.
You gotta twist. Hold the base. You gotta hold the base. You gotta hold the base and then twist at the not the base, but the base of the shaft. You gotta hold the base of the shaft and then twist the top. Bring it up above the table so I can see it.
Just throw it up on
the
table. So I can
help you. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, hold the shaft. There you go. Now you got it loosened.
I got it.
Bring it up to full height. Full extension, and then twist it back down.
Yeah.
And then once you got that, then you know things are working out.
Ooh, it's ticklish on the bottom. Okay.
This is gonna be one of those episodes that's like this is gonna be like episode number 2 with the crickets going off.
Crickets. They're not on my microphone. No one will hear. Yeah, so at the end of that reptile sanctuary thing we were at, just an example of Clint's quickness. Dave's like, well, if that happens, then I quit. And immediately Clint's like, probably for the best. It's just, I just don't know how he does it. Even when we were there, I think you heard him in the beginning, when our guide for the night, Caitlin, said that she met her boyfriend at a convention, but that he lives in Atlanta and she lives in Phoenix. And he goes, well, that's the most unconventional relationship I've ever heard of. Like immediately. And then he goes, I'm such a dad. But it's like, why is his brain firing on so many cylinders at once that he could come up with these silly quips? And if he has that kind of brain, he should be competing with Elon Musk or something. You know what I mean? But instead, he just entertains us on YouTube.
Well, he's also teaching, he's a professor and stuff. So he's doing brain stuff with his brain.
I'm not saying he's doing brain stuff with his brain. I'm saying the things he chooses to do with his brain, well, even his teaching stuff, I think entertains him. He's entertaining himself with his brain.
Sure.
He could be changing mankind.
Oh,
he's pretty smart.
He is pretty smart. Smart enough to not want to get involved in having to try and change all of humanity. Something to be said for that.
Wow. That just kind of blew my mind.
Well, it's just...
If you're smart, stop trying to change.
If you're smart, don't light that entire cigar on fire at once.
Humanity.
Don't stick it in the flame, you turd nugget. No, okay, do whatever you want, actually.
This
do whatever
is exactly
you want.
What you were doing.
No, that's not exactly what I was doing. I promise you that.
All right, teach me.
So you just want to toast it. You just want... it's kind of late now. You blackened the entire freaking tip. So you see how you got half of this all black and burnt?
Well,
I would have never done that.
The flame was a little
this
bit
distance back over here, and just kind of toasting it.
Wow,
like
that thing's pretty intense, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. So if you pay attention to what you're doing, it's all right. It'll be fine. It's gonna be fine.
Oh, you ruined it.
No, I think not. So I've been looking forward to this trip. Maybe more.
At least for 3 weeks.
Yeah, right.
Since our last trip here to Phoenix.
Yeah, but that's right. We recently did one of these, but for whatever reason, I found myself looking forward to it even more. And I think it's because,
because you know how cool the Cavenders were.
Yeah, I know how cool the Cavenders were. I know how cool hanging out with you and Dave and Clint is. Noah coming this time, excellent.
Yes. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
And I just... I'm so over interacting with people through the internet.
COVID really got to you.
I guess. It's not even COVID so much. It's more like just how... If you go to look to interact with people on a daily basis through the internet, which is what I do... it starts to get old real fast. It starts to get hard to filter out the stuff that brings me down about interacting with people on the internet. And I know when I'm here with you guys that it's just going to be like, whether it's talking crap, whether it's lifting each other up, like it's almost the same. Like we know when we're talking crap to each other, it's like we're just like pushing each other,
because we love each other.
Yeah, in a positive direction. And I don't have to question whether or not that's what's happening when we're together and we're hanging out in person. And so that's why I've been looking forward to it so much.
I think that, I started the YouTube thing to try to teach people about this specific niche because there wasn't a lot of information. I think that whether it was for educational purposes like me or for you to kind of like share your family, really, your experience, your life experience with people, I think that we do it so that we can connect with people who are interested in sharing our experience, our life experience. And instead, what you end up getting are people who are interested in telling you what they don't like about your life experience.
That can happen. Luckily, I don't get a whole bunch of that, but
yeah, it shakes you up. Sometimes even people who think they're being supportive of you drain you when you provide content for public consumption.
Yes, that does happen.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, because that definitely happens.
Yeah. So I'll give you a recent example. Kimberly answers my general Reach Out Reptiles page stuff, which is where we try to send people. Like if you've never contacted us and you go to Reach Out Reptiles on, let's say, Facebook or Instagram, and you DM us, then Kimberly answers those. And if it's something that I need to answer, she goes, "Hey Garrett, can you answer this one?" Right? But we kind of filter them through because there's a lot of common answers that she can give great. Well, there was a guy that has been, for the last couple of years, corresponding with me through my personal Facebook page, which I take messages there too. It's not a big deal. He's never bought anything. He's not like a customer or anything. But he always has a question or an idea or something to say, and generally like a pretty nice guy, but maybe a little bit overbearing in the way that, the people who contact you at 2 a.m. on Saturday, and if you haven't got back to them by Monday, they're a little bit upset.
I feel like you vent about these people on a regular basis.
Do I really?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, people. I generally enjoy interacting with people, but you have to consider someone else's life a little bit.
No, that's not necessary.
Well, I feel
not in today's world.
So, let me finish the story, and you guys can be the judge. Maybe I'm a jerk.
I don't have multiple personalities. Oh, that's right, we're recording. Sorry.
You don't have multiple personalities? Do I? What did
you
say?
said you guys can be the judge, and I was like, wait, yeah, there's an audience.
Well, you and everyone else. There's an Indonesian word for that, but we don't have one in English. So, yins. Yins can be the judge. It actually works perfectly. Mm-hmm. I like yins even better now. So anyway, they've been corresponding with me with a couple of years and just randomly asking me questions and for advice or telling me their ideas. And then they somehow wrote to the Reach Out Reptiles page instead of my personal one without understanding that they had done that. And Kim answered, and he asked a question, and she kind of thought it was like a new customer type of thing or something, or like a new person reaching out to us. And so she gave him kind of like a very standardized answer. And he's like, "Well, I just asked you about that, and you told me this." And she goes, "Oh, I'm sorry. You probably talked to Garrett. This is Kim." And he's like, "Well, what the bloop?" You know what I mean? And he kind of went off on her. And he's like, "For all these years, I thought I was talking to Garrett. And now I find out I've just been talking to a stranger all this time." And he goes, "And so to talk to Garrett, apparently I have to super chat on his live stream on Wednesdays, or else he won't be my friend." And she's screenshot it and sent it to me and said, "Can you answer this?"
It's like, what's wrong with your life that you need to snap out at somebody like that? I don't something wrong with you. at that point, not whatever.
Well, he actually realized it immediately.
Now you're gonna make me vent about stuff like that. Just like.
But this is what I'm talking about. This is the stuff that drags you down. So just to kind of like bookend the story or whatever, I reached out to him on my personal page and I said, hey, I have a very confused customer service person who has like one message from you and said that you were upset about something. Is there something I can do for you? And he's like, no, disregard that message, please. Thank you. Goodbye. And so I think he just realized that he accidentally talked to two different people and then thought. But the deeper thing is like, I forgot to mention this. Part of what he mentioned to Kim was like, well, I was definitely going to buy a super door from you this year, but now I never will. And I won't even recommend Reach Out Reptiles to anyone again.
Just shut the
You know what I mean?
God.
And it's like,
so sick of people like that, dude.
Yeah, and it's a one-sided relationship in people's minds sometimes, which the whole point of why I get on YouTube, this is, I think, different between you and me, is so that people can get to know me before I'm able to get to know them. So that if I meet them at a reptile show or in the real world someday, they'll already kind of know who I am and where I'm coming from, and we can kind of skip the small talk and just talk about whatever they want. So I like it. It's like a relationship accelerator.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely.
I enjoy that, and it's I just get to know them. So I do a lot of listening at these reptile shows to people who already know everything that I've had to say. But, this person demands that I talk to them instead of have dinner with my family, or that I talk to them instead of take a vacation, or that or whatever, And then if I don't, or if someone else fields their general inquiry, they're upset.
Well, here's where
they want full access.
Here's what I think part of where the balance gets out of place is like, I feel like there's this feeling people feel like you owe them some of their time because they spent some of their time like consuming your content or spent some time towards you.
Yeah, okay, I can see that.
But that's not scalable for you returning that amount of time back to everybody.
It's not equitable.
No, it's not. I don't know what that word means apparently, but it's not even possible. Like,
yeah, right.
For every single person that spent 10 minutes on one of your videos, you can't give 10 minutes back to every single person that spent 10 minutes on that video.
Right.
Because you're one person, and that's however many people watch that one video.
And if I hear people talk about, and I'm not like really comparing myself to like a celebrity or something, but it is the same concept. You hear about the person who like met their favorite celebrity in real life one time, and that person didn't have very much time for them, and they're actually a really jerk. You know what I mean? Like,
yes, I've had that exact thing happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, to you, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, I've heard it about, because like my dad's a producer. I grew up. I knew a lot of celebrities, and they knew us, and they'd be with us, and they'd be talking to us, and they're just with their friends in public or whatever, and someone else would come up and talk to them. And many of them were very gracious, but sometimes they're like just eating breakfast or something with their friend, and they're like, oh yeah, great, thank you. And they kind of just like politely dismiss the person, and the person will be so upset because they're like, I have been in love with you for 10 years, and all you can do is politely dismiss me? That is not fair. You know what I'm saying? It's such a weird... So anyways, this was all going back to you looking forward to this trip because you get to see people in real person, in real place. I don't even know how to deal with those situations because I am appreciative that people watch our videos, consume our content, refer our company. Those are great things. That's what I love. That's the best way you can support us in what we're doing. And yet at the same time, if you attach entitlement to that, or the inconsideration of what you're taking away when you ask or how you ask for things, then all of a sudden it becomes like the dark side a little bit.
Definitely the dark side.
Of having followers.
Like Golem dark side. My precious.
It's very weird.
My
It's very weird.
You will give it to me.
So, but I don't think people realize what it's like from...
Thanks for taking my happy thing and taking it to a real dark place.
Well, I suppose you can't understand the light if you don't see the darkness.
Yeah, I've said that for a long time.
So you were happy to hang with us this weekend.
I was also happy to see everybody that was at the meet and greet thing at the grand opening.
For C&B.
Certainly.
Yeah. It was really cool.
There's been a lot of cool, especially like the kids and stuff that are like, like went into it. I met this one girl that Austin, I think helps carry. It might be his niece. Sorry, Austin, if it's your niece.
It's his sister, I think.
Okay, well, she just gave me the best hug I think that anybody's given me. Like.
You're talking about Austin, my old neighbor.
Yes, especially a stranger, especially somebody I just met. Just gave me this hug where she just like full, just like rocked with me, just like, and felt completely at peace. And I was like, I needed that. Like,
well, we were talking about her because he was describing. So she has autism, and he was talking about his nonprofit. Which, oh gosh, I wish I remember the name of it right now. Oh, shoot. Anyway, they use like farm animals and reptiles and stuff, and they introduce them to.
Can you look it up on
kids
your phone?
with autism? I don't know.
I know what you're talking about.
I think it's
doing really cool work there.
I don't know how much of an online presence they have.
Oh, maybe if you just go to Austin's page, if you just go to Balls on Chin Constrictors, I think it is.
On Facebook?
It's ball and chain constrictors on Instagram.
Balls unchained?
I said balls on chin. That's what I said. we had a little joke about that earlier. While you're looking that up, I'm going to take a hard left. The other thing that has been bothering me, and this isn't just going to be a
vent about these people.
Just,
so I don't
no,
look so
just
bad.
like the infighting, and this is not some new topic by any means, but just like the people think, like having these presenting these not false idols, but like the opposite of what an idol is, like these people that be put up on a pedestal as the people that need to be knocked down off of these pedestals because they're destroying the hobby or hurting it, that aren't actually necessarily doing that. It's just how people inside of the hobby think of them because they don't agree with the way their thumbnails are or the way that this is going, and the way that they think that outside people are perceiving it because of a thumbnail or something like that, when the reality is that's not what's happening in reality. But they have this idea in their head that this is what's going to destroy the reptile hobby is a horrible thumbnail, when it's not.
Are you referring to there was a video?
Well, that video came up to things I'd already been thinking of. Yeah, the video that Donnie put out at Nerd today,
yes,
where he drew people in by making a post. It looked like it was going to be basically bashing Jay Brewery. That's what the thumbnail was.
The thumbnail was
the thumbnail was killer. And when I first saw it, I was like, dude, what? But then I was like, no, hold on. I know there's something else going on here. Like, that's just to grab the attention, and there's going to be something else.
That would be low class for those guys.
Yeah, there's going to be something else going on after that. And I was right. That's why I didn't even comment on the thumbnail thing on Instagram. I was like, no, there's something else coming here. I'm just going to wait and see. And then I thought he did a phenomenal job of grabbing that attention and turning it to places where people are actually doing some pretty
That's what was funny about it once I listened to
stuff,
it, yeah.
Like, that where the attention really should be. I thought he did a fantastic job at doing that. If you guys have that video already has more views than I think our podcast does in its entirety. But if you haven't seen that video on the Nerd channel, just go check it out. I personally thought it was very well done. The way that it was, use the clickbait to drag people in that were like, oh, we're going to attack the people that we think are ruining the hobby. And then he actually turns attention to people that nobody's mentioned, not that I've heard at least, that are actually having an effect in...
Very negative effect.
A very negative effect on the...
Well, kudos to Donnie for playing that well, because he used a clickbait thumbnail to talk about clickbait, therefore rendering the clickbait not clickbait, because the video was about clickbait, and then it was kind of neat because he offered the perspective of what it's like. Well, first of all, he talked about people he knew, and most of the people who are generally attacked are attacked by people who don't know them, right? And secondly, he gave perspective of what it's like to be on the other side of that. Like, why do people do that? Like, you'll hear it all the time. I've heard it. You might have heard this in criticism over the years. Like, are you trying to be the new Jay Brewer? As the one I always get because I used to work for Jay. Or are you trying to be the new Brian Barczyk? anytime you do something that is, let's say, exciting or seems clickbaity or, kind of the negative connotation that some of these guys have, right? And so if you do something like that, they compare you to them, right? So I guess there's like a
people have literally walked up to me and
there's
said,
a path that
"Hey, Brian, what's up, Brian Barczyk?" When I'm filming with the camera to show, yeah, so yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah. Well, maybe that's just because you both had long hair at the time. You can't tell the difference. But yeah, some of the people that have been successful on social media do things in a similar way. And there's kind of like a reason for the pressure to do things those way. And then there's those of us like you and I that are completely different and unsuccessful. Cheers.
Are we cheersing the cigars?
Yes, cheers.
You can take your unsuccessful mindset of yourself, which I know you don't really have. I don't feel unsuccessful.
Wait, I don't really have what?
I mean, no, that you don't. I don't think you really have this thoughts that you yourself are unsuccessful. I don't think you have.
No. Actually, my YouTube accomplishes everything that I want it to. Like, you know what I mean? So it's great. But
mine pretty much does too. But there's always that.
It depends on what
grow.
you want it to do.
I want it to grow, of course, but slowly. That's what I've always been. When I first started, like one of the very first videos when I actually the very first video when I turned the camera on myself and talked at it, I said just that. I wanted to have slow growth. I wanted just a slow and steady growth. And that's still what I want, just to slowly grow.
Why slow instead of fast?
Because fast is, in most things that are good, usually not enjoyable in the long run. It's not the long run, it's the quick run. It's fast. It's flash in the pan. Maybe, but that does happen that way.
Well, I think like Clint does. Well, okay, so
we're
here with Dave and Clint. Dave has had a long, grueling road and hard-earned all of his subs and views and everything else.
Yeah, but he's also got bad karma with the universe for being a dick to people he doesn't know.
I can tell you very much believe that, and I can see why. Clint, on the other hand, has achieved a large numbers of success, and if he's measuring the same way, like measure him against Dave with views and subs and stuff.
And Clint's very kind and understanding to the general public.
Yes, but my point is, like, he had very rapid growth comparatively.
Sure.
Not like he's a noob.
No,
but he had relatively
the YouTube channel
fast
took off well. Yeah, it was
growth.
Well.
But he has a formula for that works.
Right. Exactly.
So, and I would say that Clint is generally very happy in life and happy with the people that watch him, and so maybe we just need to learn more from him and stop venting about stuff. But he has a great community that follows him and supports him, and I think he gets very little. I don't know. I'd have to talk to him, but I'd have to say, hey, do people expect you to answer them at 2:00 in the morning, or, so.
Well, he just doesn't. He gets to people in his own time, if he does at all.
Well, that's what I do, but it's never fast enough. The funny thing is, I try to do it very quickly, and that's when it becomes not fast enough.
Clint is very good at not being offended by anything, and even if somebody, I think, is like upset, he just has a way of, like you said at the beginning, he's real quick.
I think you and I are good at not being offended by people.
There's a point at which I break, and there's no rationale as to when or where it is. I could have just a bunch of different things piling in from different directions. I hit a moment.
I think Clint would be that way too. Like I think it's more like certain things rub you the wrong way for some reason, occasionally.
Yeah.
And I'm the same way. I've had things that upset me, like a random comment from someone you'll never meet that you lose a little sleep over, and there's not really any reason for that, to do that. But when you get offended is when you have that thought, it's the principle of the thing. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And not what's actually happening. Because what actually happens is nothing. And so when we attach ourselves to the principle of the thing, we get offended. And people who are easily offended are always thinking like that. Like, it's the principle of the thing. You know what I mean? Like, whoa, you paid an extra $2 for that. And then if you're like, well, I don't care, it's $2. And they're like, that doesn't matter. It's the principle of the thing. I'm deeply offended. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's some people that live, and this is kind of interesting, they just live based on principles, not in logical results, but like emotional principles. And I've recently learned that that's okay, even though I don't do that or understand it at all.
I feel like
that's just how some people navigate the world.
I don't know what I do anymore. I like to think I'm fairly logical, but I'm also highly emotional.
Yeah, I think you are. I think you're relationally emotional. Like, I think if you want to talk about a subject, you and I can be very logical. And, you know, like, just, yeah, information-based, logical. And if one of us is proven wrong in something or whatever, we can logically change our positions, you know. But you relate to the world much more emotionally. Yeah. I relate more on, like, results, you know. Like, I'm the guy that doesn't honk his horn in traffic because I'm like, well, whatever happened already happened, and I don't need to alert them to my presence anymore. Do you know what I'm saying? So if you're a person that's listening to this podcast and honking at people, you're an emotional relator. Unless you're honking to say, hey, watch out, I'm right here and you don't see me.
Well, I'm, as much as I'm an emotional relator, I'm not the guy that honks just to say I was pissed. Like, I also the warning honker, like...
Yeah.
Like, if you...
I mean, that was an example.
That was a good example of what Dave does all weekend. Dave
is a very emotional relator. He's not logical at all.
I guess
here we are picking on Dave again.
I'm sorry, I pick on. It would be different if I wouldn't.
It's because we've been with them all the time.
That also,
and because Clint is so quick, and so we think it's funny, so we pick on Dave too. And he's not funny because he picks on Dave. He's funny because he's quick. We slowly pick on Dave, and then it seems like bullying. How is it that Clint can pick on you? He's magical.
It's because
he picks on you and makes you love him more.
It's almost like you forgot that he did it because he did it so fast. Like, did that?
He did. The last one where I just said is probably for the best. I was already halfway through the next sentence before I realized A, that he said something, and B, what he said. Because it was like tagged on to the end of Dave finishing his sentence. You know? Like, gosh, that guy's quick. I got mad props for Clint. I love you, Clint. Hey, all you guys that watch Clint's Reptiles, he deserves it.
That's true.
He's a good guy.
That's true.
He's a fun guy. He's great to be around. His family's awesome. We went herping with his extended family this weekend. It was great.
Maybe that's why I was so excited to come on this trip. I just wanted to hang out with Clint. You guys could have stayed at home.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah. See, I mean, the result is I'm still here. We're smoking cigars, and so I'm not offended.
Right. Yeah.
The results are the same. I'm perfectly happy.
The logical world. The logical world you live in.
Rob taught me that. We actually had a late night with a friend. We actually went out to play poker with some people. I don't golf or anything like that, so we went to a poker night.
Yeah, you proved that the last time we went out.
I sure did. I don't think I was last. Was I last of last? I think I was second to last.
There's no way you were second to last.
Caleb did worse.
Caleb did worse than you?
I wasn't going to call him out, but it's okay. I'm clinging to that, Caleb, just not because I hate you, but just because I'm sad about my results. But, no, I don't golf. I think it's asinine. Sorry, everybody that wanted to go golfing with me someday. I mean, you still can if you want a good laugh, but boy, my back hurt after that, too, because I have terrible form and a bad back. But
I think that those things are probably closely related.
Well, not really, because I didn't golf a lot, so the condition of my back has little to do with the golfing.
Well, it ain't helping. How about that?
Yeah. All right. Let's dive deep in the shallow end. Shall we?
I like it. Are you ready for that? Do you have something prepared?
I'm always prepared.
Oh, nice.
And if I'm not, I'm pretty good at winging it.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. So I want to talk about English idioms. So there's a lot of idioms that we use, you know. You can think like it can be a saying. It's basically a saying that has a meaning that is not what the saying actually means, right? So, like, to beat a dead horse. We
You're
all know that we're
not actually taking a bat to a horse.
we're not beating a dead horse. We are talking about a subject that's been talked about too much.
So an idiom is a figure of speech?
Yes, exactly. So I became fascinated with idioms when I was teaching English. It wasn't actually English, it was cross-cultural communication as a professor in Indonesia. And it was amazing to me to realize how many idioms I used. Because when so I was teaching people that were like 4th and 5th year English students, and most of them, it was business-based.
I think that most of us in America, I think there's a large percentage of Americans that probably speak in half idioms or
Constantly.
or
we don't realize how many
hyperbole.
of them are idioms.
Hyperbole and idioms would be closely related, I imagine, because you're not saying things that are like, oh, I'm gonna die if I do that.
Right. So, but some of the things, like if I say to beat a dead horse, that's kind of an obvious idiom. But some things, like saying get over it, that's an idiom. Get over what? And get means to acquire.
That fence? The fence, right? We're talking about the fence or the gate or the wall.
Right. What am I getting over? And so if you speak to somebody who understands English but doesn't understand cultural references, and you say get over it, they're like, what?
Get over what? I thought we were just sitting here.
Yeah, where is it? What is it? What are we referring to? Yeah.
Or how about this? What's up?
Yeah. Huh?
My mom does that all the time. Like, I'm like, what's up? Oh, sky, the clouds.
Yeah.
Not much
And so
else.
those are idioms, and they're culturally based. And that's why idioms are fun, because especially if you're an American, well, I probably anywhere, really. But like in America, it's a huge country separated by, a lot of geological miles.
Idiomatically divided.
Well, when we were playing Bobby Wheatgrass and what was your guy's name again?
Johnny on the Spot.
Johnny on the Spot. We were using a lot of different idioms to pretend like we were from different cultural American subcultures, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Totally racist.
So here's yours was racist. I was playing myself. Even your wife was like, I think you missed your calling. You are Bobby Wheatgrass. It was amazing to watch you turn on and be the true you. True story. Anyway, okay, so that's all actually just the preface of it. So my real question is like, what the heck with some idioms? Like, where do they come from? And why do they persist? So Clint always says, that's totally rad.
Stinking rad.
Stinking rad. Stinking rad. Yeah, thank you. Stinking rad. Now, that's something that went out of style in like 1983.
I love how Clint is like a major subject of this podcast tonight.
Well, we've been hanging out with him this week. It just provides context. So there are some things that go out of style very quickly that we say or that we use,
And things that don't, like cool.
Yes, so cool has persisted, but there's been ill or sick,
sick
and that doesn't make any sense.
No, my kids are saying sick.
Yeah, well,
sick.
Well, and they come around again too, because people are like, like you pick up a phrase from the 50s or something, and it's funny again. But some of these things have persisted, I think, so long that it's almost like the Hatfields and McCoys, and they don't know why they're fighting anymore. Where did this idiot? Okay, so a good example, and this would be.
We have a whole list. Like I was telling Clint, let's say Clint's name 100 times this podcast. So we do take a drink every time you hear Clint, people, if you're drinking. I was telling him, we got this stack of, it's a clipboard hanging on my parents' refrigerator. They're called
Cuscoisms.
Cuscoisms.
Yeah, I've seen that before.
Yeah.
Or I'm fabricating that memory in my brain.
Yes, because you've never been to my parents' house.
But either way, so I've still seen it though, because it would have been on your vlog or somewhere.
Yeah.
Because I knew what you're talking
right.
about.
It's been on the vlog.
It was never at your house?
Nope.
Okay. Well, that must have been the vlog.
That's right. My vlog is your reality.
I can't believe you don't spend enough time with me, Cusco. I watch your vlog all the time.
See, you don't expect anything back from me. And that's why it's easy.
I don't expect much of you at all. I appreciate you plugging the wires together and stuff to make this thing happen. That's about all I expect out of you.
It's easier for me to hang out with people like that don't expect anything out of me. It's very taxing to feel like something's expected of me. And my best friends in the whole world expect nothing of me, but know that they're going to get whatever they get from me, and they're going to appreciate it, even if it's, especially if it's an enormous bottle of Eagle Rare that they never expected.
That was amazing. Yeah, I was very happy. So yeah, one of you guys recommended Eagle Rare to me after sponsoring the drink sponsorship for this podcast, and I tried some finally after a very actually I never was able to find it. You brought me some, like, because you read my mind, and then I said that was very good. I love it, and you came back with a giant bottle of it for me to take home, so I can become alcoholic apparently. But yeah, so here's the idiom. Wait, I forgot what it was. Let me check my notes. This was the idiom I was thinking about the other day. Oh gosh, too many notes. Here it is. Dead as a doornail. What does it mean? Where did it come from, and why does it persist? When I say it's dead as a doornail, all of you know what it means.
Well, it's dead, and it's not going to come back
It's
to life.
very dead.
Very dead. It's like that is, there's no resuscitation.
Okay, first of all, what is a doornail,
Well,
and why would that be dead?
A doornail is a thing. It's
I've seen door screws. So this has to predate screws.
No,
Did people ever attach
I've actually
doors with nails?
I've actually
They seem
looked
like they
this
would
up,
fall
and
off.
it's gone out of my brain because it
No,
apparently
you
wasn't.
haven't.
No, I have.
Your reality is not real either.
Garrett, I've read about this, like, what is a doornail? Like, going through a similar exercise as this is like looking up these different phrases and sayings. Where did they come from? What do they mean? And that was one of them. And a doornail...
If this counts as exercise, I'd be in as good a shape as you. This is not exercise. Continue.
Exercise in futility, or an exercise in language. I want to say it's not the door. Okay, it's not the hinge pin.
No, the hinge pin is what goes through the center of
the hinge to hold the door on.
But actually, that's a good thought. I never thought about that. It could be the hinge pin, but you're saying it's not.
No, I don't think so. But I've definitely looked up at some point what a doornail actually was. And it's something that I don't think is used any longer. But
okay, a doornail is a stud set in a door for strength or as an ornament.
And it's no longer there because we don't use them, and that's why it's dead as a doornail. It's like nobody uses those anymore. Nobody uses that phrase, dead as a doornail, because doornails don't even exist. Nobody uses doornails, so it's dead as a doornail. Is that where and why? I don't think I've ever said that. I've heard it. It's obviously, here's my favorite part. Here's my favorite place where dead as a doornail exists. It's in the middle of a Pink Floyd song. And they're using a bunch of different metaphors like that, or analogies or idioms, I guess, you know. High as I can't even dredge up the lyrics right now. Dry as a funeral drum, I feel. I wish I could dredge up all the lyrics right now. It's a good song. It's on the wall. It's part of the wall.
I'm doing some research. This one goes way back.
Yeah, it's an old one.
It actually predates correctly spelled English. It's from Mid-English. Dead as a doornail. Dead spelled D-E-D as a door, D-O-R-E dash N-A-Y-L. So it's almost like Viking.
Right. It's like, was it one of those things that was held when the doors were vertical slats and they had to be held together by a brace type of thing? Or?
So, doors were used. Doors were built. So this dates back to, they've traced it back as far back as the 1300s, and it was used in poems as an idiom. That is a doornail. Now, where it actually started predates that. This is crazy. I didn't actually look this up before
Obviously.
now. But it says that doors were built using only wood boards and hand-forged nails. The nails were long enough to
go all the way through.
nail the vertical wooden panels and
Together,
horizontal
to make the
stretcher
door.
boards
Right.
securely together so they would not easily pull apart. This was done by pounding the protruding point of the nail over and down into the wood. So they're beating the nail through and then pounding it down.
Right.
A nail bent in this fashion was said to be dead.
Because it's not coming back out. It's in.
It's
You're
it's
not gonna
done.
It's not going to be
It's
used
done.
again.
It's over.
It's terminated.
It's completed. It's dead. So
Actually, that's how I built that table. When I knew you were coming to in person finally for a podcast, and I built that table that we could podcast at, I used a very similar technique. You happened to use screws, but it was still the same idea, to get vertical boards together to form a horizontal plane.
Okay, so now we know what it is. Wait, so that was said dead as a doornail. So I suppose if you're like dead, yeah, and then you just say dead as a doornail, because that's a phrase. But why on earth does that persist when it's stinking rad didn't make it past 1983?
What are you talking about? It's used widely on YouTube. Many of Clint's fans. Is it that time? Many of Clint.
You need some more?
No, I said Clint. I said take a drink. It's a drinking game now.
Yeah. Okay. I think Brian sponsored this drink with Old Forester 1910.
Yes.
For those who
bringing it back. He it didn't die. He may have been saying that the entire time. I don't think he ever stopped.
He probably didn't, but he also uses a lot of outdated things, and that's part of his charm. He's a very dad jokey kind of guy.
Well, what are some things that never came, that didn't actually make it? Because you're trying to use stinking rad, but it's still being used.
Only by him.
No.
Yeah, it's like his catchphrase now.
But other people say it because he made it popular on his channel.
That's just because they like him.
So why don't you do anything? Because you like it.
So it'd be like if a non-Pittsburgher was like, I love yins, guys, to me, because they heard me say it or something.
Yeah.
Except that everyone in Pittsburgh still uses that.
So it's not gone. It's not dead as a doornail yet.
Oh, I just think it's weird. Idioms. I didn't realize how weird they were until I tried to teach a bunch of adults from another culture.
I would challenge anybody to try to speak in America that's currently living in the U.S., that has lived in the U.S. Or maybe other. That's one thing I don't think there's a lot of that happening. There's something about English where it's such a language you can play with in so many ways. Like, there's a lot of other languages out there that don't have room for that amount, or at least not nearly to the extent I think that the English language has been. And maybe that's because the English language has gone through so many different cultures.
Well, yeah, and people actually agree with that. So that's not just an English-speaking perspective, because I have friends that speak, like, for example, Indonesian is a very easy language to learn and use, but it's not particularly descriptive. They do have a few words. Like I said, there's a word for that in Indonesian. For those of you guys that are listening and speak Indonesian, like kita and kami, there's two words of saying us. One is like, hey, if, us is like me and Dave, but not you. And then there's us, like all of us. We have to, in English, we don't have a way to say that.
Just us.
Yeah. But at any rate, English has been used as a trade language for so long that it has been watered down or dumbed down, and that the average, let's say, American speaking English today, especially with all the grammar correction and lack of vocabulary that people have today, some people never get further than that. Just kind of like the daily spoken language to kind of get around, and they don't try to use the language to be particularly descriptive about what they're trying to describe. However, if you do want to be descriptive, you can dig pretty deep, and you can find 50 different ways to say one word. Go to a thesaurus and pick any word you're looking at, and there are so many ways to, subtly differentiate, and that's because of its history, the English language history and the evolution of the language, going through all those different cultures, and adding and tweaking and changing and redefining specifically.
I think it would be a fun challenge to try and go an entire day without using an idiom or speaking in hyperbole whatsoever.
Like I said, if things like get over it that you don't even think of as being an idiom are, I don't know that you could. It was actually such an important part to my cross-cultural class because they all spoke English pretty well. And so the three most valuable things I brought, because I got to make up my own curriculum, and these were surprise. I just did them because they were silly and fun. But one of them was I would fill the board with idioms, and I would watch them try to explain them, to define the idioms, right, on the board. And that was the way I started each class. Another thing that we would do is we would have them watch classic American movies and then reenact. We would do like group projects where they would reenact a movie from a famous scene as if that scene had happened in Indonesia and how it would play out differently. So if they found a classic American movie and a scene happened that they thought was strange, they'd reenact it in the Indonesian way, and we'd kind of pick it apart. And then the third thing I did was let my students take me to coffee after class and practice their conversational English. And that way they could actually talk with a Western businessman,
I think a good side effect of trying to challenge yourself by not speaking in hyperbole or using any idioms throughout the day, or at least for me, the side effect would be maybe not speaking as much, which might save me a lot of trouble.
I think a lot of us could think a little bit more before we speak anyway.
Yeah.
This would be good practice for that for sure.
I had Rob Christian.
I like this Old Forester. It's nice.
That's good stuff. It's very pancake syrup, banana pancakes.
You have weird ways. It's the perfect balance between having that bite that you want, that like alcohol bite, and like good smooth flavor at the same time. So it's not dissimilar from the reason I like the Eagle Rare. It's a very straightforward kind of man's bourbon, but drinkable.
It's more similar to Woodford Reserve. Well, it's a double barreled whiskey, so Woodford Reserve double oaked is very similar to this, I find.
I think that is what I like. I always liked the very smoky scotches, and I always liked the double.
Smoke.
No. I'm saying for scotch I like the smoky stuff. For bourbon I like the double oaks. I've always noticed that I like the double. Like you like cask strength. I like double oaked. I like that earthiness.
I think I would love some cask strength double oaked. Ooh.
You is that even like by definition not possible?
No,
right?
that's totally possible.
So you just take it from
one
the cask
to the next,
done, and just keep putting it in.
You just take one from the first cask.
Boy, that sounds like you wouldn't need to drink very much of it. That's high octane.
There's this stuff called light whiskey. It's like an obtanium or something. It's like 147 proof, I think. I do have some. Oh, you know what I've got right here, dude? I've got some Old Carter 4, batch 4, which is a 13-year. It's 69.8% ABV, which brings it to what? 138.6? 139. 130.
It's been a long weekend, my friend.
139.6. That's what it brings it to. That's 139.
That's kind of like standard cask strength.
No.
140 proof.
140 proof? No.
130, 135,
Cask
140.
strength usually sits in the 120 region, I would say, or like this Stag Junior is cask strength. It's 131.1.
Okay.
139.6 is on the high end for certain.
Okay. So
it's just cask strength is just what it comes out of the barrel.
For those of you guys that are wondering why we're talking so much about the bourbon, is because Brian's got his whiskey wimps thing, but I enjoy it because I like anything that's done well. So I don't ever really ever drink to get drunk.
Neither do I.
And I don't drink a lot, but what I appreciate about different kinds of alcoholic drinks is that people don't put a lot of pride and effort into other types of drinks. It seems like they just add sugar,
all pride and
that's it. Well, yeah, that's it. So that's why I kind of like. Well, I mean, a lot of them are.
Most of them are
alcoholic drinks.
Most whiskeys are pride and effort.
I would say most alcoholic drinks are.
Psh.
Yeah, that's okay. Anybody? Well, all right. It wouldn't be hard to find craft anything. You know what I mean? People that are trying to push the envelope and make a better wine or a
vodka
or a better beer or There's high-end vodkas and tequilas, and
Yeah,
so my thing is
what
like
makes them
alcohol is
high-end?
generally expensive, so you might as well make it nice too.
I don't know what could make a vodka. I'm super biased here, but what could make a vodka high end other than marketing?
So I'm ignorant, but from where I sit, you sound ignorant.
Sure.
I think you're ignorant to vodka.
I've had plenty of vodka. It's not barrel. It's just distilled alcohol.
I think if you went and toured and talked to people who made vodka, you would learn a lot.
I'm sure I would.
But
Speaking of wood, yeah, it makes the alcohol a lot better.
yeah, well, it's an earthy flavor. So anyway, that's why I drink. That's why we do that. We're also smoking cigars, and that's another thing that people take great pride in. I just like anything. Like, man, I love cars when the automakers get out of their own way and they make something pure and beautiful,
Well,
where
you
the
know- you know what?
designers and the
This is why
engineers
I
come
can't believe
together, and it's
I can't believe I'm
amazing.
about to do this.
I like when you say that.
This is why people are so intrigued with your work with super dwarfs.
No.
Yeah. 'cause
No.
You put so much pride and effort into it. It's because you care about it and you like it. You pour your soul into it. That's why.
Yeah, but every reptile breeder would say they do the same.
No. Yeah.
Yes,
it's easy.
they would all say
okay,
that.
Okay.
The top bloodline
Easy
quality.
to say,
Mm-hmm.
as all things are. Easier to say.
Than to do.
In fact, except for that moment right there where I brought that up. That was hard to say.
Thank you.
But no, it actually wasn't. It's just a funny joke.
How come people don't like to compliment
just a
me?
funny
Is it
joke
because
I
my
have.
head's already big?
I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't apparently have too easy of a time of it.
Jokes are only funny when there's an element to truth.
Say that again?
Jokes are only funny when there's an element of truth
Oh, yeah.
to them,
Oh,
is
yes,
what I
yes,
meant
yes,
to say.
yes.
So you're joking that it's hard to compliment me.
But
a lot of people, I face a lot of negative pushback, especially from people that don't really know me or don't really understand me,
Who
but
are your
based on
direct
their
competition?
impression. No. I mean in life.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So like, if people don't know me, their impression of me is that I'm very cocky and that I'm conceited. And therefore, they do not like to compliment me
You know what's funny?
because I have a big head.
What's funny is people who don't know me think that I'm very. What do people know? You're the wrong person to ask, I guess. But
I knew you since before I knew you.
people that don't know me, I don't know what they think. I don't care anymore. Actually, I've gone so far beyond caring. I'm doing whatever I want these days.
I think people that don't know you find you like lovable and welcoming, and then they like get drawn into watching you and participating in your life through your vlogs like we're talking about. And then you always do something to take a hard left turn and everyone's like, "What the heck is he doing? I thought I knew him better than that." And that has happened for years that I've known you. You're like, what is he doing now? I don't think you know your own self.
That may be possible. There's certainly an element to that where I don't know exactly what it is that makes me tick sometimes. I think I do. There's many times when I'm very confident in knowing what it is that makes me tick. But there's times when I completely question what am I doing and why.
Well, I think the biggest question is, what do you want? I'll explain why in a minute, but just for funsies, try to answer it.
Well, the funny thing is, I think that all the things that I want, I have for the most part. Like, I think I have all the things that I really want.
Yeah,
I
such
do.
as?
Like, people that love me, people that I love. I mean, those are things that I really want. Like, that's really what I want. I want to be loved, and I want to love in return. Like, I want that, and I have that.
So you answered exactly well, which kind of goes to my point. But if anybody's listening to this and you just tried to answer for yourself, what do you want? I mean, not like I'm driving and I'm hungry and it's lunchtime, I want a cheeseburger. But no, like really, what do you want?
It's funny because a lot of the things that I have, the things that I say a lot of the time, I say them, I'm like, man, that probably sounds cheesy, but these are the things that I mean. Like, that's why I find such solace in all these old...
Yes, you are basically a living cliche.
But it's, I am. I'm living. I'm not just saying it. Like,
I wasn't either.
I know you're not. That's. There's all these things, these truths, these universal truths that are what make me happy and make me who I am. These things that I believe are universal truths, like it's wanting the simple things in life that
you can't
many people
believe something's a
overcomplicate.
universal truth and make it so. It has to be universally true to be a universal truth.
Oh, is that true?
There's no belief to it.
Is there
It's
not?
universal truth.
Oh, whatever.
That's the problem with the world today. They think their truth is universal truth, like the universal resides
but isn't that
in
the
them.
universal truth that do not people want to love and be loved in return? Isn't on all aspects of human life boiled down to that? Like,
well,
your
I
need
think a
for
lot of
love
people
or
have a
your lack
very...
of?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Your need to love or the lack of like, don't most human truths boil down to that simple thing?
My wife's father is a preacher, and he came and gave a talk to a group of young people one time for me, and he said all humans need two things: to love and to be loved. And I actually struggled with that statement at that time in my life, because I said, to love, yes, I agree with you. To be loved, no, I don't want that right now. And I think I felt very undeserving of it at the time. But if I ask you as the listener, what do you really want? And you don't know, I would say the reason you don't know is because of one of two things. First of all, the reason you don't know what you want is because you already have it and you fail to recognize it. So obviously Mr. Cusco here passed that one already, because he said, I think everything I want I already have. Well, maybe not everything, but what you truly want is what you already have. The second reason why I think people, and this may be you, I don't know what you want, is because you don't know who you are. You don't know who you were made to be. And sometimes, this is the case with me, who you were made to be is, it doesn't seem valid, and so you reject it. So this is going to sound really weird, but I think the reason why the Superdorf thing and the quest for perfection, and I drink this bourbon because it inspires me to do simple things well. And that's how I want to live my life. I want to take simple things and do them very well. This is not who I tried to be or anything like that, but I'm 30. You did the math. How old am I? I'm almost 38 now. Right?
I was doing the math on the proof of the whiskey.
Oh, no, it wasn't you. It was Clint. Cheers. Cheers. Clint did the math on this. He was trying to figure out how old I was. I'm 37. I'm almost 38. And it took me about that long to figure out that I was somehow weirdly made to be someone who sells reptiles. And I think a lot of people have negative connotation of selling, and therefore that doesn't sound like something you'd want to be. And I think a lot of people don't like reptiles, or they don't think it's like a major part of life, and so that doesn't seem necessary or worthy. But the weird thing is, you know, I think when you're being who you're meant to be, you get in this zone, you know what I mean, where you're just feeling it, and you're enjoying your life in that moment, the present, and you're there, and everything's connecting, and it's working really well. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I feel like I've lived most of my life in that zone, and when I'm out of it, that's when I'm depressed, when I'm like not in the zone.
So a lot of people have almost or possibly never felt that or been in that zone. And I don't know if it's because they're denying who they're meant to be, like I was, or they don't know who they were meant to be.
I attribute it to music, and that's why I think it's a highly recommended thing if somebody has like to learn to play music. I think it can be something that can really get somebody into a zone if you take the time to do it. I remember the first time feeling in that zone that I recognized it. I was in 4th grade, and we're playing this old man brigade, not old man brigade, or old man, not ensemble. One of the words for like a type of music thing, like old man patrol or
Dig
something.
deep into your English language.
No.
Give me better vocabulary.
Anyway, it's just like this old man, he played, it was a version of This Old Man.
Oh, okay.
And it was in 4th grade, and we're all playing, it's the high school band, and for some reason, everybody was doing pretty well in this one rehearsal of it, and it just clicked, and everybody was playing it well. I was playing my part right, and also everybody else seemed to be playing their part right at that moment, and just felt this in the zone.
That's a very good, okay, so here's what's happening, and that's a very good illustration of what it is. So you're playing one simple part of a greater whole. And if everyone else contributes and they all do their part of this greater whole, there's a moment where you transcend yourself, you transcend your simple part, and you can hear and appreciate and feel the purpose of that greater whole flowing through you. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
You're going
absolutely.
dee 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 dee, and then all of a sudden there's like a zoom out moment, and you're like, whoa, music is happening, because I put my fingers on these holes of the flute and played them, and it's such a succession or whatever. And music is very cooperative, and it's very expressive. And I think if we live our lives cooperatively, and the expressive side is us doing our part well, then you can connect with the world and the people around you, and you can see a greater purpose. And you're like one thread in a tapestry, you know, and you're worried about your phrase or being the pigment wrong, you know, the pigment that you don't enjoy or whatever. But sometimes you realize it really wasn't about you. And when you zoom out and you see that you've been just being you right, life happens for you and everything clicks. And for me, when that happens, and this is why I sell the super doors, I've always said, like, I'm not a salesy sales guy. I just enjoy the animals, and I try to communicate to other people why I enjoy them. And people enjoy watching me enjoy reptiles. Would you say that's true? You've been around me enough.
Absolutely.
So when I you've seen me go off about things that I'm passionate about with the reptiles. And after a while, people just sit back and chuckle, and they're like, look at this guy. He really cares about something I've never thought about before in my life. You know, and that makes them enjoy it, because they see that there's a bigger world outside there besides their own opinions.
I guess I spent a lot of time trying to zoom out, and successfully, I guess. There was a whole year of my life in Hawaii where every morning I would get up and I would go down to the ocean, jump in it, get out, do some yoga, and this isn't always necessary in this order, but it was these 3 things: the ocean, the yoga / meditation. And in that meditation, I would sit there and see where I was, and just close my eyes and be like, this is where I'm at. I know exactly, thankfully, maps and this and that. I know exactly where I am, and pull back slowly in my mind and be like, here I am on the central south shore of Oahu, backing out of this park. And I've ridden all across the island at this point, so I know it like by heart. I can actually see in my mind like where I'm pulling back from, and just pull back. Now I'm backing out. I can see all of Oahu, backing out, and I can see all the islands, and just keep backing out and zoom out to that point. Like, I'm just this tiny speck on a tiny island in the middle of the ocean, in nowhere, almost. You know, and be like, I am nothing in this. But at the same time, that's what I can zoom right back down and be right back in my body, and here I am, and I'm controlling my body and my breathing, and then I go find a coconut. I did that every day.
But the thing that you said incorrectly there is that you were insignificant, because if you are a thread in the tapestry, you are very significant, because tapestries are made of thread, and without the thread, there's no tapestry. So here's the problem.
What I mean by insignificant is like my
you're minuscule.
minuscule,
small part
not insignificant.
of
Yes,
a larger whole.
yes, that's what I meant. You're right.
And if you try to be anything other than a thread, you are not participating in the tapestry. So here's the thing with people that feel actually insignificant or depressed. It's that they are judging themselves on whatever standard they use to judge. And they are saying, this is at least me. I think there's many reasons for depression in the world. I was very depressed. I was suicidal for years and struggled with that. And for me, it's because I thought, well, I'm a good person. If I boil it all down and I think about it, I thought, I'm a good person. I'm trying to be good, and nothing is going right for me. Or, in other words, I'm not getting what I deserve, or things are not happening the way that I want. And then I would get depressed, and then I would hate myself for it. And the funny thing is, that self-loathing is actually probably the greatest form of pride that I've ever struggled with. People think that I'm cocky, but when I hate myself the most, it's very prideful to think that I'm entitled to anything or deserve anything at all. Because really we're not. I mean, we're a bunch of particles that return to dust when we die, right? An old proverb says, from dust we came and to dust we shall return. So that doesn't actually matter who you think you are or what you're a collection of particles. What really matters is that you are your true self while you can be. Because if you zoom out, our time here is short and it's precious. And to have the connection with people that we love and that interwoven thing, or to play our simple part in music, you may not like the instrument that you've been given or the part you have to play, but that shouldn't really matter. You play that, you be you, and you do it well. And you have to trust that you're here for a reason and that you are who you are for a greater purpose. And then you can connect with that greater purpose back up and just see the beauty of communion, of being in a community of people, different but complementary. And when we try to be someone we're not, if I try to be Brian or Brian tries to be me, we're doing it wrong. And everything is fighting against the natural order of things. But if we can sit back and just be ourselves in that moment. And sometimes I think that's too selfish for us because we think like made up responsibilities get in our way. And so I think some people might think of you as kind of like that hippie type, shirking responsibility, not wanting to, from a personality perspective, because you're not that way in life. You take care of people and stuff. But it seems selfish to be yourself. And that's probably the greatest lie that our minds invent.
Well, I mean, it's an interesting definition of selfish. Maybe is just being yourself. Is that selfish? It's the word is self.
Yeah, but you can't get tripped up on that, because the thing is, like, if you are who you are meant to be, it's probably your greatest calling, responsibility, and selfless act that you can do. Because instead of inventing something and shooting for it and not knowing what you really want, or getting what you thought you want and having it not satisfy you, the ability to learn that you probably have what you want. And if you don't, you need to play your part until you can see that, or until that life happens for you. You have to kind of trust it and relinquish control and go for it.
I thought it was funny about the wrong instrument, but you still play, because like I lived that when I played clarinet in 5th grade, and then this is taking it back to a more superficial level. That was very deep.
Well, we probably went deep enough for tonight's podcast.
5th grade I played clarinet. I was transferred into 6th grade in the band, and I wanted to play in what my mind was the bassoon. I was like, that's a cool looking thing. I remember, I think it was there was some movie with like a serpent, and there was a kid that like stopped the sea dragon from taking over the ship by playing his bassoon. And I think that was part of why it was so, alluring to me. It was like, oh, yeah, I want to tame the serpent.
Ooh, alluring. Good use of the English language.
I want to tame this serpent. And so bassoon is where this 11-year-old kid, that's what I need, is that. I need to learn to play bassoon so I can be that. And there was a list of instruments that I had to choose from. And in my 11-year-old mind, that I saw baritone. I was like, oh, that's it. Probably because B-A. I was like, oh, yeah. And the N and the O. It's like, baritone. Yeah, that's it. Check. And then they bring me the instrument, and it's like this miniature tuba
Yeah.
thing with like 3 buttons and, tuba, not reed instrument at all. And I was like, what's this? And they're like, it's a baritone. I was like, that's what you asked for, right? I was like, yeah, I mean, technically, but that's not what not this big metal hunk of like 3-button tuba-ness. And yeah, they said, well, just try it out. If you don't like it, then maybe you can. I was like, oh, okay, I'll try it. And I tried it, and I stuck with it from middle school all the way through high school. Ended up going to they would pick me as the one kid in the band to go to play in the state band with that instrument. And
all based on an accidental checking of a box.
All based on an accidental checking of a box. It became a whole, at this point, is now, still almost a quarter of my life that I spent playing that instrument. Well, because what I guess that's what you're supposed to do, right? Is that what you're supposed to do?
I guess, if you take what you've been given
and try to make the best of it.
I think the reason why we're so lost today, though, is because people have that sense of entitlement. And they don't get what they want, and they get depressed. And if they do get what they want, they're happy, and that's very childish. Yeah, you're a dad. I'm a dad. When your kid doesn't get what they want, how do they act? Very unhappy. You give them what they want, and they act happy. So they think that's what makes them happy.
You know what was happy with for me, what made me very happy this weekend is how much Noah wanted to swim in this pool. That's like one of the main things he wanted, was to be here to come swim in this pool this weekend.
Yeah, he saw this pool and he was like, dang.
He saw it before we came. Like I showed him the pictures. I was like, look, this is we got this pool at our place. He loves swimming in the pool.
Yeah.
And he asked so many times where I was like, dude, if you keep asking, I'm gonna lose my patience. But he stayed out with us herping all day long, early morning until
we did a 20-hour herping trip in the desert.
And then I promised him the next day, yeah, we'll swim in the pool. I promise. And then we spent all day out doing the meet and greet thing for the morning, and then going out to the sanctuary, which was definitely fun for him, checking all the crocodiles and playing with the chicken. He loved that. Don't get me wrong.
Play with the chicken.
The fact that he was so good about it, about like not actually, like he kept asking about it. He was persistent about it. I want to swim. Are we going to go swim in the pool? But he never whined. He never cried about it. As annoying as he got about it, sometimes asking about it, he never whined or cried. And then when we got back and it was pool time, and it was maybe going to be a little too cool to get in, he was still like, well, maybe we'll go try there's a spa over there we saw. And then that thing was the third full and cold. And he still was just like, that's okay. And that for me, I was like, oh, thank the Lord. Like, please, thank you. Please and thank you for how you are with this situation. That you could totally be feeling like, this is the only thing I wanted, and it's just ruining everything.
Well, but what's funny, because you guys did jump in the pool and you ran a couple laps in it, and then you got out because it was cold. And so you did it. But I think the thing that was cool about watching Noah Sage over this weekend is that I don't think the pool was ever what he really wanted. He did a couple laps. He's satisfied. He got that little thread out of his brain, right? But watching him give water to a thirsty rattlesnake in the desert, or hang out with the other kids that were out there, or I'm tired, I'm hungry, but let's go to one more spot. He didn't think he wanted to see the geckos, and then we ran over a gecko and killed it. And he is very interested in that dead gecko. He noticed everything about how it died. He told his mom how it got run over and it only crushed his head, but the rest of the body was okay. He was petting it, and just kind of making peace with it, and being with those people and playing with, you say he's played with that chicken. We went to this amazing reptile rescue and sanctuary that had some of the most amazing. I was geeking out with a Galapagos tortoise. I got to pet a Nile crocodile. I got to gaze into the eyes of an American alligator, which is one of the greatest joys of my life, is gazing into the eyes of an American crocodile. Believe it or not, it has been since I was a kid. I don't know why that species and that eyeball makes me so happy. But, but he connected with the chicken. You guys got the chickens at home. And what was the chicken's name? The rooster?
Storm, I believe.
Storm, that's right. And it was a Orpington, a gray Orpington, or silver Orpington. I forget what it's called. Chicken people can correct me. But, he connected with that chicken, and Clint. Cheers. Connected with...
I'm empty.
With a possum. Well, pick your greatest one. So my point is, he thought he wanted something else. And in the 2 days of waiting, he got everything that he enjoys and connects with the world. He got everything. He had it. Life happened for him. He was enthralled by that tiger rattlesnake we found. He was in love with that tiger rattlesnake. He noticed every detail about her. He talked about it well into the next day, that it was his favorite thing the whole time. I don't know.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, that's
the greatest thing about being a dad is that we get caught up in our stupid adulting, and we forget to connect sometimes. But having a kid whose your blood runs in their veins, and watching them connect with the world on a much simpler level reminds you to be who you wanted to be when you were a kid.
Yeah.
That's why I love being a parent.
Yeah, me too.
And so many people, I'm not condemning this. I'm almost sad for what they're missing out, because it's been such a blessing in my life. There's a lot of people that don't want to have kids these days. And most of the reason, it's not selfish in a bad way, but most of the people are like, no, I'm very happy and I get all the stuff. Like, if I had a kid, I'd be responsible for someone else. It would cost me a lot of money. I wouldn't have the freedom that I have, And that's all very true. And I don't think just everyone should be a parent. But being a parent has been one of the greatest joys of my life, because it helps me reconnect with the parts of myself that I've lost. And I have 4 kids, so I'm able to do that through 4 different lenses. I'm able to filter that life through those different lenses, and each one of them has a different part of me.
Yeah, living through your kids, it's something. It's something else, man. I do it every day as well. I'm fortunate to be around them a lot. Spoiled rotten with the amount of time I get to spend with my kids, dude. Absolutely.
Yeah, you are. Freaking punk, man. I'm jealous.
But those are choices. I choose that.
Okay,
There's things I could be doing, to maybe even be making their futures easier. But I don't necessarily want that, because maybe subconsciously I don't want them to get that sense of entitlement that we think is, ruining the world. I don't want them to have that. I want them to know what hard work is. I want them to know what it is to earn things for yourself. And that also allows me the time to be with them, because I'm not building a multi-million-dollar company where they're going to be set up for their lives, which there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever, I don't think. That's something I could aspire to as well, but on a day-to-day basis, my choices that I make end up not leading to something like that, but do lead to a daily, as you recognized in me a long time ago, this life-life balance, where it's like, I am getting work done. Don't get me wrong, I'm busting my ass on a daily basis. I go to sleep last, and I wake up first in my house every day, every single day. That's not a question. But I still have the time within that to have an exorbitant amount of time with my children. I wouldn't have it any other way, because, as you're saying, you get to live life through them, and you get to see the life through their eyes, and it's that simple thing that just makes you so happy. It's the complicated world out there that now everybody's in everybody else's business through the internet, which is a blessing and a curse, because it allows that to happen, and it allows for many things to happen, but one of all the bad things as well, that I feel go away when we're hanging out in person and just doing these things. But
well, something I just learned by backing up a little bit is, even when I say I'm sad for people that don't have kids or don't want kids, it's kind of stupid, because I think having your own child makes it easy because your blood runs in their veins.
Oh, yeah.
But so many of us have a legacy in the other people in life that we touch, that they, in some regard, become our children in a way, because
Sure.
we're able to teach them, bless them, help them. And then at the same time, you're talking about the girl you met today that just gave you a big old hug. You know what I mean? You connect with them in that moment, and learn to stop and hug people. You know what I mean? Or whatever it is. And so there are so many people that, it was great at this grand opening at C&B Reptiles out here, because people came from really far away to see us. All of us, you, me, Dave, Clint, everybody there, their little celebrity, reptile team that was there at the shop. People came from really far away to tell us that we've touched their lives. And just to meet us in person so they could share those same nitrogen molecules in the air with us for a minute. You know what I mean? And be a little bit more connected than they have been able to be through a screen. And so it is really cool to see them live their lives and appreciate that they have what they want. You know what I mean? I mean, it's kind of like, so for me, I was the Super Dwarf guy. That was my position. You were the vlog guy, right? But being the Super Dwarf guy, a lot of people think they want a Super Dwarf when they watch my channel. And, hey, maybe I'll hurt my sales by saying this or whatever, but I'd venture to say it's not that you want a Super Dwarf. You know what I mean? I think that we've talked about this, just the way I sell things is just me being happy with reptiles, and people connect with that. And so sometimes they think they want a Super Dwarf because they see me connect with a Super Dwarf and be happy. But I think it can remind them to just turn around from the screen and connect with their bearded dragon or a bird outside their window. And or a little, just a beautiful flower that blossoms or whatever, if I'm going to be cliche like you in your whole life. And stop and smell the roses for a minute. I
do that too.
That.
I do it literally.
Literally.
Walking cliche.
Figuratively.
No,
hyperboleally. And idiomly.
Hyperbolically, sorry.
Hyperbolic. Like the chamber.
There was a couple of kids that were at the shop today. Santiago was the one that had been, watching for a long time, and he was friends with him who hadn't kept a snake yet. And his friend, after, there was a couple times we talked, they had hung around, we had a couple of interactions, and then he asked me, I'm thinking about getting the first snake, and he's like, what do you recommend as a first snake? And then I proceeded to give what was maybe my best answer I've ever given to the question, and I told him that too after I said it. I was like, wow, you know what? I think that may be the best that usually when I say things, I'm like, wait, hold on, just don't pay attention to what I'm saying. This time, that was good. I'm pretty sure that was really good.
You set your story well. What's the best first reptile?
It's malleable. It depends on what you really want.
Malleable. Good use of the English language.
It depends on what you really want. Your best first snake is not going to be the same best first snake for everybody. I told him that one of my defaults is corn snake because they're so hardy. They don't get too big. They're easy. You can't kill them that easily by mistakes and husbandry.
There's a lot of industry support and.
Sure. Right. So, but I told him, but you've got Santiago here. He's got snakes. You're literally with him in person, he can mentor you to make sure you have proper husbandry for whatever snake it is you're looking to get. And I just said, take into account the fact of the lifespans, of any snake. Like, it's going to live a long time. Like, I was like, if you get a python, no matter what the species, and you care for it correctly, that snake's going to be still alive when you have grandkids. Keep that in mind, And keep in mind that some snakes can get very big, like retic or that and that, and you might need to be able to do 200.
Some have exacting requirements.
200, 200-pound squats to get it back into the cage, maybe things of that nature. And basically, what I left him was, you still have a lot of research to do before you know exactly what the first snake is for you. And luckily, you've got your friend here who can help you along. And I was like, well, obviously, I'm here too. If you want to reach out and call me and talk a little bit more about this, that's great too. But the first snake is the best first snake for you, is the one that you put the most research into and realize, this is the snake I want to be my first pet snake.
But I think that's a very good answer. I think there is a step after the research, though, because the research kind of discounts all the things that won't be a good match for you from a physical standpoint, right? Like, it's too big, I can't handle it.
Well, that was one of the points I brought up.
Yeah, that's the first step. But I think there's still, even after you narrow it down, there's still a number of different species. And even within a species, there are going to be different individuals. So let's say they do arrive on the fact they need a corn snake. Well, now which corn snake? And I think the right answer is going to be the one that you connect with the best. And for that is different for everyone. So for me, I connect with reticulated pythons because you can form a relationship with them if you put in the effort and the time. And there's a challenge for a Homo sapien to connect with relationally a Malaya python reticulatus, right? So that's you still remember that. That's funny. So that's their appeal to me. I like kind of cracking the code of the relational connection between man and beast, if you will. But for I really appreciate Justin Kabilka, because a lot of people I heard it at least 3 times today. I said, "What kind of reptiles do you keep?" And they go, "I just have a ball python." I hate that answer. You don't just have a ball python. I think you were with me when I said it once. I was like, "That's a pretty cool. That's like an exotic African python. Like, that's a pretty cool snake." But it depends on how you connect with them. Like, when I watch Justin, and he's talking about his morphs, a lot of us are like, "Oh, those are so shallow, and beauty's only skin deep," and they're all about the morphs, which to an extent there's a lot of truth to that with ball pythons. But that doesn't mean you don't connect with the animal because of that. Like, Justin Kabilka connects with these new hatchling morphs because he's seeing his vision realized when he understands the genetics and what they'll do, and he puts them together in a carefully crafted way. Just like I like bourbon and a cigar, and you said people like my Superdors for this. I like what he does with ball pythons. I don't actually ever need to own one of his ball pythons to appreciate what Justin does with them, but he connects with them because they show him when he's right and when he's wrong about his vision for life. You know what I'm saying? For these colors and these patterns and this. So that's cool.
We were at Earl Jones' place, and
down in Texas.
Yeah, and Chase, his facility manager, and myself were
Justin's facility.
Yes. Chase Patton. We were sitting back and watching Justin observe some of Earl's snakes.
Yeah.
And it's just funny.
And figure them out.
Just the way he was looking at it, it screamed wine sommelier, nosing in a glass, looking at the legs, and watching. It was just that. It was exactly. I was watching it. We were on the other side of the room.
Another good one. A wine sommelier.
Yeah, we were watching. I was like, that's what he's doing. He's nosing.
Well, if it's wine, you're appreciating the flavor. And when you know more about it, you can appreciate it more, like the earth, those grapes. They were grown on a south-facing slope in this kind of soil or whatever, and it brings a richness to what you're doing. So Justin, appreciates a richness of ball python genetics that few of us can understand.
True.
And it's not difficult, but it takes a dedication
Time.
of life resources to it. And he gets that. So for me, I like like you know me, I like the localities more than the morphs, because the localities to me are something that came from a physical place on the planet, a place that I dream about and have never been to, but feel very connected to because I understand its inhabitants through my animals. A little bit of that is lost in the morph thing because those are now, people say you can't domesticate snakes, but they are domesticated.
Oh, absolutely.
And so the domesticated ones don't have that same. That's also why you hear me say this all the time. I kind of like the snarky ones. I like the ones that don't automatically like me. You know what I mean? I don't like the white picket fence personality animals where, oh, it's a great educational animal, or is its temperament going to be awesome to me no matter how I am to it? I like to earn it, you know? And that's also why I love wild venomous snakes. They're my favorite because you have to give them a drink during a drought or handle them very specifically. You know what I'm saying? To relate with them. I love it. I'm just giving me goosebumps just talking about it. What a great weekend.
Absolutely, man. Is your cup empty? Because you need to try some of this.
No, I poured myself like extra. Like I kept forgetting I poured myself some, and I had a very large glass.
Clint.
I'll tell you, I still have like 3 big It's not empty yet.
I know.
All right, okay. Fair enough.
You need to try this. Dude.
Which one am I trying?
Oh, shit. Stag Jr.
Oh, yeah. All right.
What I would refer to as Eagle Rare on steroids.
Eagle Rare on steroids. Okay. I thought it was just Eagle Rare's other brother.
Nah. George T. Stag. This is George T. Stag's little brother, but this Stag Jr. is still Eagle Rare's.
This is the one you always told me. If you see a bottle of Stag Jr., you just buy it.
Yes, that's what I told. Well, as long as it's not too expensive.
So one of the things I've learned about bourbon, and even on those poker nights that I went to, there was a couple of bourbon aficionados there. There's a couple of guys that own very like high-end bars that serve bourbon specifically. They're like bourbon-focused
Not like
bars.
my kind of people.
I told them, I said, I have a guy for you to meet the next time he comes to Pittsburgh. But that was the guy I almost won the 3 bottles of Rip Van Winkle off of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we'll have to go down there sometime. They said that they would sponsor the podcast at some point too. So I'll have to get back together with them and hold them to it.
Sounds good.
Maybe we'll get some Rip Van Winkle.
Or maybe even some Pappy. Sorry, same thing, because somewhat. Old Rip.
Woo.
Or some Pappy 15.
Yeah, that's a lot more than this Old Forester.
Yeah, sorry, you went from
It's
93
going,
to... Yeah, you went
that
from
opens
90,
up all the pores.
You just jumped 40 proof, my friend.
Still very good flavor, though. Very smooth. Just a lot higher alcohol content.
Yeah. It's that cask strength.
Boy, so Brian, I don't... What episode is this? How many?
21.
21
Legally
episodes.
able to drink now.
Right.
That's why we did the Clint thing.
Cheers.
Oh, cheers.
So here's my last question. What's next?
Arlington.
NARBC.
NARBC. The first reptile, no, maybe not for you, the first reptile show that I will be attending since COVID.
That's not the first for me.
Not first you, but first for me.
It's the first big one. And I mean, yeah, that qualifies as big. Big one.
Yeah.
Not the biggest.
Not the biggest, but...
You and me need to go to Ham.
Sure.
I think that's next.
All right. Well,
Hey.
no, next is Arlington.
Okay, but chronologically. But no, I think we need to get out of the country and do this.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Go see some from another cultural
Oh,
lens.
yeah. Well, I need to go see my sister.
She's in Germany?
She's in Belgium.
That's not ham.
I know, but it can be a pit stop for at least me.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Let's do it.
All right. Clint.
Searchable is Reptiles.